I recently read the 1959 novel Psycho by Robert Bloch, and then I watched the 1960 film Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. How are they alike? How are they different? Which one is better? Stay tuned. Before we get into it, I have a really embarrassing favor to ask. Could you just please like and subscribe? Do it now. Thank you. Psycho is about a secretary who embezzles $40,000 from her employer's client, goes on the run, and checks into a remote motel run by a young man under the domination of his mother.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is considered to be one of the greatest psychological thriller/horror films ever made. And I have to be honest, I did not know that it was based on a book until very recently. If you've never read the book or seen the movie Psycho and don't know how it ends, do yourself a favor and go check them out before watching this video, because they're gonna be spoilers. Okay, the book Psycho by Robert Bloch is based on the real-life killer Ed Gein, who was also the inspiration for Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs and Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Very interesting.
Clocking in at only 175 pages, Psycho felt more like a novella than a novel, and it was a breeze to read. The book starts immediately with an introduction to Norman Bates. In the book, Norman is obsessed with reading books about psychology and the occult. Norman is a 40-year-old motel manager without any gumption. He's allowed himself to be controlled by his domineering mother his entire life, and it torments him. But he has never left home. He finds comfort there. The outside world actually scares him. Now, the Norman Bates in the book is described thusly. He has a plump face. He has thinning, sandy hair with visible pink scalp underneath. He's also described as big and fat. If you've seen the movie, you know Anthony Perkins plays Norman Bates. I don't think you would describe him as having any of those qualities. Now, I'm sure there's an explanation somewhere. I haven't read it, but I don't know why Hitchcock decided to go with a handsome actor as Norman Bates when he's described as this kind of big and fat, ugly person in the book. Maybe because, you know, it's Hollywood and they like to put attractive people in movies to sell more tickets. But I do think that the fact that Norman is described as unattractive in the book makes him a bit more of a sympathetic character, I would say, in the novel. Now, the movie actually starts immediately with an introduction to the character Mary Crane, or actually Marion Crane in the film. She's played by the actress Janet Leigh. In the book, she's described as having dark hair. She's a blonde in the movie. I will say we learn so much more about this character in the book than we do in the movie. She actually has a very interesting backstory. We learn that she had to care for her dying mother and her sister at a very young age, sacrificing the fun of her 20s to care for them both. We also learn that she'd been scorned by a previous lover and that she meets a man, Sam Loomis, who's in both the book and the film, on a cruise. He's a hardware store owner who is tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and Mary/Marion really wants to help him out. So when she has the opportunity to steal $40,000 from her employer, she makes a rash decision to do it. In the book, Mary lives in Fort Worth, Texas, but in the film, she is in Phoenix. Some other differences, there's a scene in the film where Marion falls asleep in her car on her drive and is then woken up and interrogated by a police officer. That's not in the book. That cop also then continues to follow her and almost kind of stalks her. He's in the background watching her creepily from across the street as she tries to buy a used car. Now in the book, Mary does buy a used car, actually several, to cover her tracks. But there's never this creepy cop watching her the whole time. And we all know the famous shower scene. If you've never read the book, you may be interested to find out that in the book, Mary is beheaded in that scene. The book is dark. Now in the movie, there also is a peephole that Norman looks through that looks into Marion's bathroom. In the book, that element is drawn out a little bit more. You hear Norman's inner thoughts. He feels guilty about looking through this peephole, and he has an alcohol problem in the book that is not present in the film. And he actually sits next to the peephole drinking alcohol and is described as passing out, and says he's asleep for the whole shower murder. Now, the murder of the investigator is also a little different in the film than it is described in the book. If you've seen the film, you'll remember the haunting image of the investigator walking up the stairs and then suddenly getting his face slashed down the middle and kind of goofily falling backwards down the stairs. But in the book, he's actually welcomed at the front door by Mother, and he's just about to say something, probably about her strange appearance, when he's suddenly slashed with a razor blade. So of course the big reveal at the end is that there is no Mother. Mother's been dead for many years, and that the elderly lady who's killing people is actually Norman dressed up as his mother. Now I will say, I first saw Psycho the film many years ago, and it was a bit strange reading the book after having already seen the movie, because I knew the plot twist, I knew how it ended and all that. And yeah, it probably colored my opinion of the book having seen the film already. However, which one do I like better? This is a close one. The movie is excellent. Anthony Perkins, great as Norman Bates. I would say this is, without a doubt, one of the greatest psychological thriller horror movies of all time. That being said, I was really surprised with how much I liked the book, even though I already knew how it ended. The book is significantly different from the film, even though the film does follow the sequence of events and has pretty much all the same characters as the book. But you gain a much deeper understanding of the character of Norman in the book that you don't really get in the movie, because the book is about half of it is written from Norman's perspective. So you learn his inner thoughts and feelings. Bloch also introduces this somewhat punny element in the book that is not precisely in the film. It's his way of describing Norman's split personality. He breaks it up into 3 distinct personas. You've got Norman, which he describes as the inner child who's dominated by his mother. You've got Norma, a play on words, the female version of the name Norman, who is the mother role that Norman plays. And then you've got Normal, another play on words. And that's the persona of Norman as a normal adult man who runs the motel, and that's who he is when he interacts with people from the outside world. Which I thought was, maybe it's a little cheesy, but kind of an interesting and clever way of putting it. Now, don't hate me for this. This might sound crazy, but we're all not quite as sane as we pretend to be. I'm gonna say that the book is better than the movie. It's honestly one of the creepiest books I've ever read. If you haven't read it, seriously, go check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed, especially if you're a fan of the movie. It's got some really interesting elements in it that don't appear in the film. So let me know your thoughts. Comment below. What did you like about the book, the film? What are some differences or similarities I left out? Please comment below. Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos in the near future. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.